In this video, I'm going to be sharing some tips and some practical advice on how to make more money as an architect. Now, this is going to be the video outline. We're slowly going to go through all of the topics and cover pretty much everything you need to know, or everything I think you need to know when it comes to this topic. Now, the first thing to cover is, well, why should I be giving you this advice in the first place? After all, I did just try to cover a water bottle with a camera lens cap. That just happened. But anyways, I think I can give you some insight on this topic just because I did have a lot of early success in my career as an architect. During university, I started my business. I started Balkan Architect, and I've grown it significantly after that. So I think I've achieved a lot of success there. And also, for the past 2 years, I had experience hiring people, both architects and non-architects, so I know how it looks like, perhaps on the other side, the employer's point of view, so I can tell you what you can do as an employee to make more money, well, as an architect. First things first, let's say you already have a job. How do you get a pay raise? Well, first you need to make sure that you're at a job where there is opportunity to grow. If you see that there is no opportunity to grow and you do want to grow, you're not satisfied with that job, well, it's just time to move on, search for a different job with more opportunity. Now, if you have a job where there actually is opportunity to grow, well, first thing you need to ask your manager, your boss, the company owner, depending on how large the company is, what you need to do in order to get to that next level. Try to have a plan. Let's say, okay, I want a 10% pay raise or a 20% pay raise. What do I need to do? What are the concrete steps that I need to take to get to that position? Also, something that you can ask is, what can I learn in my free time that would reflect in a pay raise because I would have more skills or more knowledge when it comes to my job. And most importantly in this segment is try to take initiative and responsibility. So when you have a problem, don't be the guy that just comes and says, okay, I can't finish this, I have a problem. Be the person that, if you can't solve the problem, when you come to your manager or your boss, okay, so we have this problem, I've tried this, I've tried that, it doesn't work, this kind of works, but it's not ideal, should I go with that, or is there any other approach? If you do that, you're going to show that you've thought about this, you thought this through, you're showing initiative, and that's good. Also, try to find ideas how you can improve your workflow to be more efficient, and then try to present that to your boss or manager and show initiative through that. Don't be the person who can't take any responsibilities. Your co-workers are not going to appreciate that, and your employer is not going to appreciate that as well. Now, let's move on to side gigs, or working on the side, doing some freelance to earn extra money. Now, overall, I'm a little bit against this just because I think that it's not the most efficient way to use your time to make extra money. So I would say only do this in situations where you can make disproportionately more money than in your regular job. So let's say at your job, you're making $10 an hour, or whatever the price for architects is in your country, and you can get some extra work for $30 an hour as a side gig, some freelance that you can do on the weekend. That would make sense. I would take that. And you can use this for some rare opportunities that pop up from time to time where you can make this kind of disproportionately more money. However, working additional hours to earn the same money or less, let's say you take an additional job as a bicycle food courier or something like that, I don't think that's the optimal use of time. I think it's way more efficient to either ask for extra hours on your job, or even better, try to spend that time to improve your skills so you can get a pay raise or you can find a different, better paying job. Next thing you can do is implement new technologies. So try to learn new software, try to keep up to date with new materials and building techniques, and also just in general try to stay up to date with industry trends. So try to follow interesting architecture pages or YouTube channels like Balkan Architect YouTube channel or Balkan Architect Instagram page or Balkan Architect LinkedIn page. But overall, you do want to follow different pages that share innovative things, different things when it comes to your industry, so you can learn what's kind of the hot new thing that's going to help you either improve your company's workflow and make you qualified for a pay raise there, or you can perhaps find a different job with these new skills and this new knowledge that you've acquired. Next thing you can do is specialize. World is getting way more complicated every year, and it's really hard to know everything within an industry. So try to specialize in a field where you think there is a lot of potential. This will make sure that there's less competition when it comes to searching for jobs, and also it's going to be way higher paid because there's, well, less professionals in this area. The next thing you can do is try to understand the entire workflow. Don't be an architect that just sits behind a computer and makes things that look nice. That's not architecture. You really need to make sure that you know how the building is going to be built. You need to know everything down to the construction worker, how they do their job. This is really important because it's going to make you way more proficient and way more skilled as an architect. So I want to give you an example when it comes to specialization, and then also knowing the entire job down to kind of construction worker's job, or know the entire workflow and the process of how things are being built. So my father is also an architect, and he's actually really successful, and for the latest, let's say, 5 to 10 years, he has specialized when it comes to paving public areas, and he basically knows everything down to how the workers lay down those kind of stone blocks or whatever is used, how the drainage works, everything like that. So he got to a point where he's very specialized, and also he has this deep industry knowledge of how things are built. So everybody's looking for him when it comes to any public area where they need to do all of the paving. And in a lot of cases, they start a project with a different architect who kind of did a nice design, but that architect doesn't really know how to handle the drainage, how to handle anything. And then they get to a point where everything needs to stop, construction needs to stop before they can figure out what to do next. And then they call my father, and then he can basically at that point charge whatever he likes, just because, well, he's in a situation where the construction site is kind of standing, and it costs a lot to have a construction site active and not doing anything for days. So if you can position yourself like that, you can earn quite a bit more. The next step is try to follow the money. See where the most of the value is in the whole workflow. So in the whole process, from the idea to actually being built, and see where most of the value is. I know everybody likes to do architecture design. The problem is that people like it so much they're willing to do it for free. So there's a lot of competition. It's basically a race to the bottom when it comes to price. So try to analyze the entire process and see where you can bring most value. So you can find a way to do something a lot cheaper, or find a way to do something a lot faster. And if you can do that, you're going to make yourself extremely valuable. The next step is to learn to sell. Now, I don't mean become a used car salesman. We don't want that, but you do need to learn some of the basics of sales psychology. You can just view a few YouTube videos on that, and that's going to help you a lot when it comes to selling yourself at a job interview, for example, selling your projects to your clients, selling your ideas to your co-workers. There's nothing sadder than seeing a good idea go to waste just because the person who presented it did that poorly. So make sure you learn how to sell. Next is networking. Who you know is sometimes really important, and it's going to give you a lot of opportunities. So make sure to network, meet people, go to events, be active on LinkedIn. This is something that I'm working on right now. I was kind of the guy that's kind of stays in his office in the dark, and I don't want to talk to people. And I've since realized that I really do need to meet new people and find new opportunities like that if I want to grow and get to that next stage. So I think this is something that's really important and that everybody should do. And now we're arriving to that next level where you're already an expert in the industry, you already have a lot of knowledge, and now you can monetize that knowledge by building products and offering services. So if you're an expert in a certain field outside of perhaps your regular job, you can offer consulting, you can help people get into that specific field, or you can offer your consultation services to companies that have some issues that they want to resolve. Also, you can build products. So let's say you build a Revit template that is very according to code for a specific area. This is something that people ask me all the time, like, do you have a template that's for this particular, I don't know, for Vancouver area, and I need a template that's up to code for Vancouver, and I really can't help them with that. So let's say you build a Revit template for that area, you can sell that to other companies working in your area. Also, if you build a detail library for a specific type of construction, you can sell that. So you can either build digital products that you can sell, or you can sell your services as a consultant or an educator. And the final step is to start your own business. Now here, the first thing that I would like to say is perhaps don't go into a classic architecture business. For example, I get offers all the time to do projects, and I almost always turn them away just because I've noticed that it's basically a race to the bottom and they're just looking for a guy that can do it for cheaper. I'm here in the Balkans, in Serbia, and people often think that, okay, so it's a lower cost of living area, so they're going to do it basically for free. And it doesn't really work like that. We're connected to the rest of the world. We're not interested in working for free. But yeah, so I've noticed that it's a race to the bottom, so I don't really do architecture projects. What I try to do is do things within the architecture industry where I see most value. So this kind of goes back to that step where you understand the whole process, and then you can see where are the issues in this process, what can I improve, and if you can improve that, well, then you can become rich. So for example, at university, I've noticed that a lot of people wanted to learn Revit. They realized the value that Revit would give them. However, they just couldn't, for whatever reason. It was too difficult, it was perhaps too complicated, too confusing. So what I saw is basically an opportunity for somebody to try to teach Revit in a fun and interesting and comprehensive way. So I started with fun YouTube tutorials, which gave me a lot of popularity because people saw, okay, so Revit can be fun. I can create a interesting bridge in Revit. I can create an interesting facade in Revit, and so on. So that was kind of the first step, making Revit fun and relatable. And then the next step was building balkanarchitect.com, building a learning platform where people can come and learn from the beginning all the way to some advanced topics, just because they are comfortable with the way I teach, with the way I present inside of Revit. So try to figure out something that you can do within the industry. For example, I see a lot of architects selling basically products within the construction industry. So they're selling windows, they're selling facade elements, things like that. So they go into sales as architects just because they figured out that they can make way more money there than just being kind of a general architect. And just to wrap it up here, I would like to add that you can try to combine your hobbies with your job. So in my case, I was really passionate about YouTube. I kind of grew up with YouTube. When YouTube was kind of starting to become popular, I was in, I think, middle school or something like that. So I kind of grew up with YouTube, or yeah, something like elementary school maybe. So I kind of grew up with YouTube, and I always wanted to start a YouTube channel. I just didn't know what to do, what to record. And then when I started learning Revit, I thought, well, why not combine my passion for YouTube with my passion for Revit? And that's how I got to this business, which is both fun for me and it's also making money. So if you can combine your passion, your hobbies with your main career, you can achieve something great, and you can also have a lot of fun doing it. So I hope if you've enjoyed these tips. Please tell me in the comment section below if you have any other ideas, what you would recommend for making more money as an architect. Also, if you want to improve and learn Revit, and with that earn more money, I do have a complete beginner to intermediate level course. We've done a completely new course. It's available now on balkanarchitect.com. The link will be up in the cards above and also down in the description of this video, so you can check it out there.